Well, we were talking about hurricanes and protecting your home, and you know, you got to think about outside your home and your yard as well. Joining me right now, Terry Payne from Payne's Tree Service. And Terry, I think that's something maybe people, they don't think of as much until after it's too late and there's a limb sitting on top of their house, right?
Right, right.
But you need to think about it ahead of time.
Definitely. You should think about removing some of the dead wood. Also doing a lot of proper pruning. Not every tree is bad. Having a tree next to your home doesn't necessarily mean it's a major hazard, but it does need to be taken care of. You know, doing some proper pruning, removing some of the weight that's actually over the home is often a really good idea, especially during the storm season.
Because when we all like the shade, it keeps the house cool. Right. So, but maybe not always that's a dangerous thing, then you say.
Right, not always.
So why can't I just go out there with my little clippers and a saw and just take those branches off myself?
Well, you can do that. Your insurance company may not appreciate it, but there's always a right way and a wrong way to do things. We've got all the proper equipment, certification, licensing to do that for you. Taking wood off over a house is also a major hazard if you don't know what you're doing.
Is there anything obvious or maybe not so obvious that as a homeowner I should look for in my yard? I mean, I'm sure there's some things like, oh, there's a dead branch, that's a danger, but what about things that maybe don't stand out quite so much?
Well, if you're just paying attention to some things like, if there's just a little bit more limbs than normal falling in the yard, if you're looking up and seeing a lot of mistletoe in the tree, you might want to call somebody out and take a look at it.
Go out there and kiss somebody under that mistletoe. Isn't that what that's for? My goodness, take the mistletoe. What's bad about mistletoe, seriously?
Well, mistletoe is basically, it's just growing on it, sucking the life out of the tree.
Right.
And just in layman's terms, it's just going to suck the life out of that tree. And trees that have a lot of mistletoe on them are usually in poor shape anyway.
I didn't. How about the Spanish moss? I've heard bad and good about that.
Well, Spanish moss isn't a bad thing. It's an air plant. If you have a lot of it on there and it's causing a block in the sunlight, then you should have it pulled and removed. I don't recommend spraying it just because it's such a corrosive spray that works for it. But having some of it removed is a good idea.
It's a good idea. I've also heard people talking about too dense of a tree cannot be good because the air, the wind, I should say. Is that true?
It's true. It's just a big sail. If you've got a really heavy canopy that's not been pruned, it just works as a big sail, especially in an oak tree. Those big oak roots grow out and they're pretty shallow to the ground. And when the storms come in and it gets wet, and that wind's blowing hard and pushing that sail over, it just pushes the tree right over.
That's why we see so many you do see a lot of oak trees upended after a storm. What other services does Payne's offer?
Our main things are tree work, land clearing, and demolition.
Wow, that encompasses quite a bit. And so you go out and you'll take a look at a person's shrubs and trees and...
Sure. Give you an arborist evaluation on it. We do offer free evaluation. And come out, take a look at it, and see what you need to do. Like I said, not every tree is a bad tree, and they don't need to all come out just because they're close to your house. Just proper evaluation is what you need to do.
And also, I would assume that maybe this would help in the value of your home to make sure that everything's properly trimmed and away from it. Because you can do roof damage, can't you, just by trees like rubbing on the roof, not necessarily crashing down on them, but...
Right. You have a canopy, you can talk to any roofer. If you've got a canopy that's just so close to your roof, it's not getting any sunlight to dry it out when it gets wet, it's going to have a mold build up and algae and fungi. So, like I said, it's just a good idea to keep them pruned. It's going to help you out in the long run and just be a lot cheaper for you.
I have to ask you this, Terry. I've been inundated in the last few weeks with people leaving little brochures on my, tree people. How do you decide? There's so many out there that say that they do tree service. How do you know? What should someone look for in hiring a tree service? Well,
a lot of it, it's in the presentation and in the common sense of when the guy comes up and you talk to him and ask them some questions. If they don't know what type of tree it is that they're going to be cutting on, you may not want to let them cut on it.
That's a very good sign.
Right. Having an arborist come out is a great thing. But one thing we offer, I've got a lot of off-duty firemen that work for me, and yes, ma'am, they're great guys. They're all part of an urban search and rescue team that get trained, annual training on a proper use of ropes and rigging, chainsaws, go through OSHA training, and that's important when you're removing stuff over homes. Just because someone's an arborist doesn't necessarily mean that they are certified in doing hazardous removal.
Right.
Now, it's very important to have an arborist out there because, like I said, you don't want to
hurt the tree.
You don't want to hurt the tree. You have somebody who knows what they're doing. But another thing we have is, like I said, those proper certification in removing and tying up stuff and making sure that there's no hazard.
Great, Terry. How do people get more information about Payne's Tree and Hauling Service?
You can find us on the web at paynestrees.com or just give me a call at 813-677-6822.
Terry, thank you so very, very much.
My pleasure.
Enjoyed it. We'll have more right after this short break.